Hello, I'm Dave, welcome to my channel. I've noticed, you probably have noticed recently, this is September the 1st, 2022, okay, that the mood is changing, okay. There's an awful lot of people who previously would never have even thought about prepping or getting ready for anything. Sometimes now they're starting to just talk about it. Oh, you know, they see what I do and they start saying, oh, I wouldn't mind having something like that in place. Because, you know, we've got this cost of living crisis that's going on. A lot of people, massive shock, massive problems. You've got mortgage rates are going up. You've got rents are going up. You've got people, you know, somebody's saying it's £500 for your rent and somebody else is coming in saying, well, I'll give you 800. You know, so you've got evictions are on the way up. You've got an awful lot of people who are now struggling because we've had low interest rates for such a long time. Interest rates are basically going through the roof, and we can see it's going to continue. We've got rail strikes, we've got bin men on strike, you know. You've also got the overall picture. For instance, I'll do a video on this one. Last year, 1 million homes in the UK were affected by storms. Well, the first storm of the year in February, 1 million homes were without electricity for a period of time. And a significant number of those homes had no electricity for quite a long time. Okay. I mean, what would you do if you had no electricity? And you still had no electricity 5 days later. You know, that's a situation that many of us haven't faced, but there are a lot of people who have, and we can only see it's going to get worse. The weather appears to be just getting slowly and slowly worse. Like when I was younger, you know, you'd have an event would happen, flooding or a storm, and then it'd be about a year before the next one. Now, I mean, last year we had storm after storm after storm after storm, and we had that ridiculous excuse that the damage was caused because the wind was blowing in the wrong direction. Did you hear that one? You know, well, you know what? If the wind is blowing in the wrong direction, that's a sign of change. Things are continually getting worse. So I'm noticing there's quite a lot of, certainly people I talk to, who are starting to come towards this idea that maybe we should think about the unthinkable and what might happen. Okay. So this video is not aimed at those who are already into the prepping mindset. Okay. This video is really aimed at those who are just starting to get round to it. And they're thinking about, well, should I do something about this? So during this video, I'm going to look at 10, maybe the top 10, depends on your point of view, but 10 mistakes that you're going to make. Number 1, focusing on this idea of a bug out. Okay. Reality is that although it's, you know, something that we all investigate, the bug out, and you got your stash somewhere else, etc., the reality is that 99% of the time you're far better off at home. Okay, because if you bug out and you're on your way to somewhere, you know, you are going to be effectively a refugee. Okay, and you've not got any support. All you've got is what you've got in your bag, essentially, or anything you can put in your car. Whereas stay at home, you've got all the setup that you've got at home. You've got all your tools, your equipment. You've got more room to put your food. You've got your neighbours, any support group you've got. Everybody knows where you are. You know where all the services are. Stay at home. However, if you do end up having to feel that you've got to move, think of an evacuation plan before you start, so you already know where you're going and what your route's going to be. Okay, have you got anybody who's going to struggle? So if you're going to be taking family with you, or any of them, you know, infirm, young children, you can't just expect them to just up and leave. Okay, you've got to think about this in advance. Okay, also, is there any medical medical issues? Does somebody need medication? So if you're going to get up and go somewhere for a few days, what are you going to need? So an evacuation plan, if you are going to go for the bug out method, evacuation plan is vital. Number 2, an idea of it's you against everybody else. It's you against the world. That is fundamentally wrong. Okay, now of course it might be that it's you on your own, but this lone wolf, as we call it, probably won't work. Okay, you are going to need help. You might as well, you know, use your community. There's other people in the same boat as you. You know them, you know where they live, you trust them. Okay, if you have to do things over an extended period of time, you can't do it all on your own. Okay, it may be you need to be asleep while other people are looking after you. Okay, so the lone wolf mentality probably, I say probably because you just genuinely don't know, but the lone wolf mentality won't work. Now, added to this lone wolf mentality is not working and being in with your community, okay, you should also consider, can you help others in your neighbours, etc., because after a few days there's going to be people wanting help. Okay, so I think it's a really, really good idea to not just have put stuff aside for you and your family, but have a little bit extra that you could then give to those who are in your little group then, okay, which first of all is going to help them, but it's also going to encourage trust, okay, and the bonding, because after a few days, maybe a couple of weeks, you know, you're going to need to stick together. So have that little bit that you can give to other people will actually reap massive rewards. Number 3, don't go shooting your mouth off about how you are a prepper and how much you've got stashed in your house or wherever it happens to be. Okay, because although some people you can trust near you, you know, you don't need to let on until the situation happens. But the more people that know that you are prepared, then after 5, 6, 7 days of shortages and everybody else struggling, you can expect somebody knocking on your door wanting some of your stuff. Okay, and what you want to be is like, well, I don't have any, I'm just like all the rest of people around here, struggling just like you. But if you've been shouting your mouth off about how well prepared you are, you can expect a queue outside your house. And if things get rough, you can expect people getting a bit violent because they're starving and they want your stuff. So don't go shooting your mouth off about how fantastic you are prepared. Number 4, there are more than one possible circumstances coming that are going to create a meltdown or a disaster. A few days where you've got to look after yourself, maybe a few weeks, okay? Don't get focused in on any particular situation, okay? Whether it be flooding, whether it be pandemics, I don't care. If you want to go zombies, I don't really care, okay? If you think about losing your electricity, okay, no electricity, full stop, gone like that, and it doesn't come back for 3 weeks. If you think of that one situation, that will cover everything. Okay, so just think about what you would do if you had no electricity, because you have communications, the TV, the radio, your freezer, which is going to start to, you know, everything in there is going to start to melt after a couple of days. How are you going to, you know, have you got lights? If you've got a generator, do you know how to use it? Okay, stuff like that. So that's the one. Loss of electricity will cover everything. Number 5, if you're new to prepping, you're going to perhaps be encouraged, or you feel obliged to go out and start buying loads of equipment, whether it be knives, cookers, sleeping bags, generators, string, tape, loads of food, whatever it is. Okay, don't go buying lots of stuff, right? Because chances are you'll have stuff that you don't need, okay, and you don't know how to use. So get the stuff that you think you need, but just get one. So for instance, don't go out and start buying knives. Just that sounds like a good knife and that seems a good one. You will end up with one knife that you tend to use all the time. So I have my knife that I tend, every time I go out, this is the knife that goes in my bag. Now I've got a few attachments to it, etc. But this is the one. I've got 10 other knives at home, but they tend to stay on the shelf. I just use one. So you can do the same. Get yourself one good knife. Now, if you are going to get a knife, by the way, while I'm on the subject, okay, this sort of knife, this is what's called a full tang. So the metal goes from there all the way down to the end, okay, a full tang knife. So there's no hinge there, okay, it's not a folding knife, it's a sheath knife. So if you bat on it, then the pressure goes all the way up the knife. You're not going to put strain on a hinge there, okay? So a full tang knife all the way through. Very, very, very important. Just put that away. Should never leave knives lying around. Put them always, pack them away. I have a saw. I have my go-to saw, okay? I have other saws, but every time I pack my bag, this is the one that ends up in my bag. This cost me £5 from a garden centre. I've had this years. It's still working fantastic. You don't need to go spending £50 on a saw, okay? Just get the right one first. And by the way, while we're on saws, if I run my, see, you might thought, if I run my finger down there like that, no damage, because this cuts when you pull, okay? That means when you're pushing, you're not putting stress on the blades, and you end up with the blade starts to bend. It cuts when you pull. Really important, that. Okay. Now that could go for cookers, everything. You end up with like 6 different cookers, but when you pack your bag, you'll go for the one cooker. So my advice is, in the first place, get a good one and stick to it. Now, coupled with that, there's no point having loads of kit and equipment if you don't know how to use it, okay? So get something, learn how to use it, and sitting watching YouTube videos like I make doesn't actually teach you how to do stuff. And you will discover that you'll see somebody doing a YouTube video on how to do a fire stick or something, and you thought, oh, that's easy. Go and do it yourself, because then you'll discover just how hard it actually is. And then do it in the rain, okay? And do it in the wind, okay? Yeah, then you'll discover how, because anybody can do things brilliantly in a nice sunny day when there's no wind. That's not the challenge. It won't be nice and sunny with a beautiful day when you have to go and do things. It's going to be raining, guaranteed. It's going to be windy, guaranteed. So practice, okay? It's not the amount of kit you've got, it's the skills you've got. Number 6, don't put all your eggs in one basket, okay? What I mean is, you've got your supplies in your house, but if, for instance, a gang come and take over your house, it could happen, you know, they want your house because they haven't got anywhere to stay and they want your house, then you're forced out. You've lost all your kit, you've lost all your supplies. So have a stash somewhere, by all means. It doesn't have to be in a bug out location, it's just somewhere else that you've got some supplies. Then you can at least have something as a backup, okay? If you are relying on a stash in the ground somewhere, don't have one, have 2, okay? If you have all your equipment in one place and for some reason you can't get there because somebody else is there already, you've wasted your time. Number 7, your food storage. Okay, you need to have somewhere that's cool, you know, not warm. The temperature doesn't want to fluctuate. Your food needs to be something that you're going to eat. It needs to be tasty, okay? Because if it's not tasty, you're not going to want to eat it, okay? And wherever you store it needs to be under the right conditions, okay? You've got to have they did say a cool, dark place and all of that. I don't want to go into too much detail like that, but you must make sure it's tasty and you want to eat it. Otherwise, you won't. On the same subject, I'm going to go for number 8, water. I couldn't really say anything like this without mentioning water. Okay, really, really important. You're going to struggle after 3 days. If you have no water, you're going to struggle. Okay, so just think about how big the containers need to be to carry your water. Now, here's an interesting thing, right? Statistically, 45% of American households do not have enough supplies contained within their property to keep them going for 3 days without assistance. Okay, so 45% haven't got 3 days of supplies within their property. Now, okay, if you're in a house, you might have a water tank upstairs, maybe, but if you're in a flat, you haven't. Okay, lots of people don't have lots of water line. So what you could do right now, you could pause the video and have a look around your house. Have you got 3 days worth of water in your house? Okay, if you haven't, then I suggest you get yourself fairly soon some water bottles or something, fill them up and just put them to one side. Okay, each person is going to consume 3 litres of water at least per 24 hours. If you're doing more work, that soon goes up to 5 litres. Okay, so if you live on your own, okay, that's not that much. But if you live with somebody, or you've got a family, maybe you've got a couple of children, the amount of water starts to really build up, and you'll end up with it's a lot of water for even just 3 days. Okay, now you might just, I'm pinging on another video now, but you might ask yourself, well, if the electricity goes, why would my water go at the same time? Okay, so look, very briefly, let's say you live in a tower block. How do you think the water gets to the top of the tower block? Well, maybe there's another tower, water tower, maybe, high, and then gravity, because that's how the water system works, gravity. But how does the water get to the top of the water tower? It gets pumped up to the water tower. So when the electricity grid fails, the water that's left in the tower will get into people's taps, but it won't take more than an hour before it's empty, and then that's it, no more. Or alternatively, people look after these networks, and suppose a particular person who has a really important job looking after the network can't get to work. Maybe their electric car can't be charged, or maybe they try to get onto the roads but they're gridlocked, or maybe they're trying to get on a train to commute into, say, London, but the train driver can't come to work, so the train doesn't go anywhere. Okay, and it just adds on like that. We're all interlinked. Okay, so, and then don't think, oh, I'll go down the shop and buy some. Yeah, okay, you and the other 10,000 people who all realise they've got no water. Okay, so sort it out now, and then it's done, isn't it? Okay. Okay, number 8. Number 8 is very brief. I've already touched on this one a few times. Watching videos is not learning. Okay, watching videos is great, but you need to get out there and practice. Okay, so I mentioned this before as well. It's not the kit you've got, it's the skills you've got. And the only way to get the skills is to practice the things that you need to do. That's number 8, very quick. Moving on to the next one. I've forgotten the number, what it is. I'm sure I'll write it on the screen. Don't go out and get everything straight away. Okay, your finances probably couldn't handle it anyway. So bit by bit. So if you're going to go out and you're going to buy some tins of meat, which are really good for longevity. If your meat will last for a long time. By the way, it's not the meat or the food in the tin that goes off. it's the preservatives that get, strangely enough, it's the preservatives in that food that go off. So after 3 years or 4 years, if that tin of food has become inedible, it's not the food that's in it, it's the additives that have made it go off. That's pretty much how it is, okay? But don't go off, you know, if you're going to buy loads of food, just buy a little bit extra for your stash, okay? So, and little bit by little bit. So each week you can add a small amount or a new item or something like that, okay? And every few months rotate, okay? So the stuff that's been in the longest, use that, okay? So you don't end up with stuff that's already 6 months old, okay? Or I'm going to say 6, probably even longer than that, okay? Use the old stuff before putting in the new stuff. Rotate it around. Okay, so the last one, just to finish off, is a bit of a mixture. This is where you got to think about your medical. Okay, if you're going to be perhaps hanging around in your house for quite a while, can you get any extra medical supplies to keep you going in the event that you can't get your prescription when you need to get it? Okay. Communications. It's useful, not vital, but useful to know what's going on, like the weather, what else is happening around the country. So you won't have any electricity. So think about maybe one of these wind-up radios that you can get your shortwave on. But the network, if you're at home and you've got your people around you, because you're not doing lone wolf, remember, you've got your neighbours and family, and etc. You know, word will spread about what's happening. But communications is really important. So got to keep your ear around what's going on. Okay, and just keep yourself up to date with your skills. Okay, that's it really. And if you do everything within this video, or rather don't do some of the things I've mentioned in this video, then you'll go a long way to being sorted. Remember, key points are: you're not on your own. You have a community. Okay, don't shout your mouth off about your fantastic preparedness. Okay, and bit by bit, get your stuff in and make sure that you rotate it. That's it really.